champions, champions of Europe finally. History made in Istanbul. The treble complete.
History makers. For the first time ever, an English club have won 4 titles in a row.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Typical City. Manchester City heading to St James's Park for what could prove to be a monumentally important game in the Premier League season. So important, such a difficult place to go for any team, not just Manchester City, but we have to do it without Rodri. I think we all knew that. Pep has confirmed he is now officially out for this season, and he's also confirmed we have to do it without Kevin De Bruyne. Again, he's out. He's missed the last 2 games, and that is a massive, massive blow for Manchester City. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the fact that Pep suggested that there may be a replacement for Rodri. He's going to speak to Cheeky and discuss a possible replacement for Rodri in January. So we could be dipping our toe in the transfer market in January, which is, it's rare for City to do it, but to lose a player of Rodri's quality for the whole season is also rare. So rare circumstances call for rare actions like this. So this could be a situation where City do go into the January transfer market. I've also got the Newcastle preview. I'm going to be doing that. And for those of you that are here for the Newcastle preview, I'm going to stick a timestamp in the comment sections below if you're watching after the fact, because I'm going to discuss that shortly. But before I do, I wanted to give a big massive thank you to everyone who has subscribed to Typical City over the past season and however many games we are. What are we in? 5 games into the season? So everyone who's subscribed to Typical City to get me to 20,000 subscribers in the time that it's taken has been absolutely fantastic. Amazing. And a lot of you, or some of you, asked some questions as well, and I promised to do a little Q&A. So I'm going to do that first. Do a little Q&A with everybody. So welcome everybody to the stream, of course, and hit that like button if you haven't already, and subscribe if you're new. If you're interested in becoming a Typical City member, the link is in the description below. Yeah, so the questions, there aren't many, so I'm not going to take too long on these. But yeah, it's so amazing to see all of the stuff that you guys have been saying. But the first question that came in is, how many have I got here? 5 questions I'm going to go through. So I'm not going to take an eternity before we get to the Newcastle preview, because I've got to pick my lad up from school shortly as well, so I've got to get on with that. But first question from Alex. You deserve more, pal. Great videos. What's your favourite video on the channel? First of all, thank you very much. Appreciate the kind words. And I don't really have a favourite video, to be honest, but what I did, not going live with this Q&A yesterday, and instead it was all about the APT case yesterday and the Premier League case versus Manchester City and how Manchester City sounds like we've won. A lot of people are now, even the people that were changing the tune yesterday, even Stefan Borson's changing his tune a little bit on that. So yeah, no one seems to know, everyone seems to be winging it on that regards. But because of that, I didn't get to do this, but what it did do is give me the time to think about it and put your questions on the screen first of all. I don't know if you can even read that. I'm looking at it now, it's pretty small to be honest. But I do have a favourite moment, and it's not even a moment, it goes over the span of multiple moments. So I don't really have a favourite video or anything like that. Letting me know in the chat if you have a favourite video, but I don't. But it's none other than Jeff, because it's not just one moment, it's not just 2 moments, it's 3 moments where Jeff iconically predicted 3 separate moments in the space of last season. I don't know how, over the first 3-4 weeks, I think it was, for Manchester City's start of last season. The first few weeks of last season, Jeff made 3 random predictions, and rather than just explain it to you, I thought I'd play it to you. So I don't know if Jeff's in the chat. He's probably not. He's based in the US, so it could be early doors. He could be at work there, so he's probably not in the chat. But big up to Jeff if you're watching after the fact. So this is for you, Jeff. Enjoy, mate. Jeff says, Palmer goal, calling it now. I hope you're right. Palmer with Walker on the overlap. He had to pass. Oh, Cole Palmer! Jeff, you called it, Jeff! Jeff! I love you, Jeff! You've done it, mate! Cole Palmer whips it into the far left-hand corner. Called by Jeff. Jeff with the 2. Thank you very much, Jeff. Really appreciate that, mate. Doku to score to tie it up. Foden game winner. Jeff, getting the crystal ball out. I love it. I love it. Maybe Nunes can be the creative spark we need now, says too fast to handle. Maybe. I don't know why we didn't start him today, to be honest. I've put him down anyway. Here comes Doku. Bursting forward, looks angry. Doku, inside. Doku, scored! Jeff, you've done it again! You've done it again, Jeff! How do you do this? How do you keep predicting it? Doku has just scored an equaliser seconds after Doku to score to tie it up, says Jeff. Jeff, mate, you're a legend. My pillow is up my arse. Get off there. 1-1. Come on, City. Back in the game. Straight after the second half is underway. Let's go. Let's put that on the scoreboard. 1-1. Onside. Get in. Jeff, mate. I know you're buzzing right now, Jeff. You have to be. Jeff with the 2. Thank you very much. Good to see you in the chat, mate. Hope you're doing well. Foden to score in the first 20 minutes. You're pulling it out again, Jeff. Anyone who's missed, I'm sure a lot of you have already been in the chats before, but Jeff is just a magician with predictions. And he's gone for a Foden in the first 20 minutes. If he does it again, honestly. I'm serious, Jeff. I'm going to give you the channel, mate. Long ball. Into Foden. Walker, sorry. Foden. Back. Foden! Jeff, mate. Jeff. What's going on, Jeff? I'm absolutely baffled by your predictions, mate. I'm absolutely... He predicted it. He predicted it last week. He predicted it earlier in the Community Shield. It's getting frightening, Jeff. It's disturbing. It's disturbing level of future crystal balling. Foden's done it again. Jeff's done it again. I don't know how you do it, mate. Favourite times on Typical City. That is cemented in Typical City history now, and it's a favourite moment of mine. Multiple moments, and I'm absolutely over the moon that I could have shared that with Jeff as well. That was so good. Many more to come as well, Blue. So many more to come. The channel's still young compared to so many channels out there. I'm still very young, so I've got a lot of learning to do. We're going to build this community, and that is a word you guys kept using in the chat as well, and in the comment sections when you were all very so kindly congratulating me and saying so many nice things. It was overwhelming, it really was. And then to kept using the word community, which is not a thought process I went through, in all honesty. I wanted to just make City content. I just wanted to talk about City and see if anyone wanted to listen. That was it. But yeah, the fact that you guys keep using community, let's grow it, man. Let's use this community and grow it more and more. But right, next question. Was from, who was it from? It was from CIJ Evney 1. Congrats, here's a Q for the Q&A. How did you end up in marriage with a United fan? Yeah, well, we're not married, first of all, so yeah, nothing dangerously that close to a United fan. But no, I love her to bits. I love her to bits. I don't know, to be honest. It's just one of those things where you put your football alliances to one side. I think when we first met, we looked at each other and we thought, I'm going to persuade her to be a blue. And she thought, I'm going to persuade him to be a red. And then we got to know each other more and more, and eventually it just became, nah, actually, we seem pretty dedicated to our clubs. And eventually we ended up, the Jose Mourinho Pep season was the big one. That's when it came to blows. And I stormed out of the house once. I'll tell you that's as far as I can't give you too much of my personal life away to you. But I stormed out of the house once. It was the Pogba goal and Chris Smalling when we were 2-0 up at half time. We were going to win the league against them. Who remembers that? 2-0 up. Gundogan scored. Nice little toe poke into that far corner. I can't remember after that. And I went home and she was just smug, and she wound me up so much that I stormed out the house. And that was the worst it's ever gotten to be honest. But yeah, I mean, yeah. And since then, we've just learnt to tolerate one another when it comes to... And Derby Day, we don't really speak. We just like, yeah. That's about it. That's about it on Derby Day. Appreciate the question, by the way. Thank you very much for that. Next question. Who's this? It's not Pauline, it's actually Jack. So Jack asked, Johnny, my question is, what made you want to do YouTube? I presume you meant to put a comma in there, but because not YouTube again. But I have been on YouTube prior to this, but absolutely nothing to do with City. I spent a year doing a gaming channel before that. Anyone who wants to go and find my gaming channel, it's Respawned. If you just type in Respawned on YouTube, you'll find my gaming channel, and then there's lots of videos that I did. I spent a year doing that. And then I have two passions in life. I love gaming and I love Manchester City. They're the two things. But I would consider myself an expert on Manchester City. I just really enjoy gaming, and I don't consider myself an expert. I just really, really enjoy it. Manchester City, though, I definitely consider myself very knowledgeable on Manchester City. That's a whole lifetime of dedication to Manchester City. So I chose a year of that. Then I thought, let's give typical City a crack. I'm enjoying this way more. It's doing better. I got to 14,000 or so in my first year on the gaming channel, and I got to 20,000, well, about 18,000 in my first year on typical City. Then obviously got to 20k since the start of this season as well. But yeah, just a love for Manchester City. And before that, I worked in engineering. I had a company that I still own the company, where we upcycle furniture, and that sells online. I sell furniture that's been upcycled by me and my old man. We worked together on a few things. That was all right. It was paying the bills. Prior to that, I worked in engineering in an office job that's really, really boring, and I don't want to bore you with it. So I quit that to do the upcycling business. And then I've moved that to one side because I've just been seeking joy. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a man who seeks money. I'm a man who seeks joy. I'm definitely one of those guys. I mean, obviously we all need to get paid, but I don't prioritize money. I prioritize joy. So that's my answer as to why I'm doing YouTube, because I enjoy it more than working in terms of, and I don't see it as work. So yeah, I don't see it as work. It's difficult being on YouTube, but it's not, like guys who are grafting in jobs in offices and stuff, they're the real workers in my opinion, and I've done it. I did 9 years of it, to be honest, so I know what it's like. But yeah, anyway, next question. Thank you for that, Jack. Appreciate it, mate. Next question was from Blue Moon 10665. What's your favourite City memory? Oof, everyone's got the same one, I think. Every single City fan has got the same memory. It's the Aguero moment. I think everyone would pick that if you were there to see it, or at least watching it on TV, wherever you were in the world. I think that's your favourite moment. So I'm going to give you another one, because I think that's just fundamentally everyone's favourite City moment, the Aguero moment. I'm going to go for the Paul Dickoff moment, because of the memories I had, because I was a 12-year-old going down to Wembley with my mum and my dad, and my best mate at the time, and his dad. And I just remember going down and just having like loads of ice cream, and it was my first taste of beer with my dad. Obviously what happened in the game was like unbelievable moment in Manchester City's history, that without it we would not be here today. There would not be an Aguero moment or a Gundogan moment, a company moment, and all the unbelievable moments that we've seen over the years would not be there without that Paul Dickoff moment. There's so many other little moments, amazing moments, but I have to pick that because it's just like so ingrained into my memory of just being there. And a real family moment as well, to be there with my mum and my dad. All of us were crying our eyes out when that Paul Dickoff equaliser went in. Unbelievable. So yeah, that's my favourite moment. And finally, final question before we get on to the preview. And thank you for that, by the way, Blue Moon, appreciate that. True Blue asks, says, well done, 40k next. Thank you very much. 2 for 1. Who's your favourite City player, past and present? And what's your best and worst memory as a Man City fan? Well, I've just given you my best memory, so I'll skip that one. So that's the same one. Worst memory as a City fan is also a family memory. Going to Stoke to watch us face Stoke, and if we won, it didn't matter if we won actually. We needed to win and Oldham to lose. And if Oldham won, we were relegated into what is now known as League One. We won 5, I think it was 5-2 actually, I remember the score, but I remember we scored 5. Goto was on fire that day. Giorgio Kinkeladzi's final game. Joe Royle's first game as Manchester City manager. What a moment that was, as a game, as a moment in Manchester City. But in terms of my memory, that is my worst memory, because I was in tears for the wrong reasons, not tears of joy, just tears of just devastation of knowing I'm going into school on Monday morning, surrounded by, 99% of the school I went to was Manchester United fans. So yeah, going in and getting absolute pelters off. They were kids at the time, so at that time it stings even more when you're a kid, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? It hurts. I wouldn't call it bullying, but do you know what I mean? It was bad, because I was one of 2 City fans that stood up for City in that school, and it was tough getting relegated. So that is definitely the worst moment. But look at us now, bounce back, unbelievable. Favourite City player, past and present. Present is Erling Haaland. Definitely for me. I love him. Absolutely love the man. And past, I'm going to give 2 past players, because prior to the money, it's Sean Goater. That's my favourite City player of all time. Probably past before the money, since the money, but still considered a past player. It's David Silva for me, because the guy's just an unsung hero. I think he gets the recognition off most City fans, but just generally, he does not come up in conversation enough as one of the all-time greats. David Silva was an untouchable midfielder, just an absolute class act. Do you know what I mean? And again, I don't know why I'm getting all emotional. I shed a tear when he came on. I was actually hiding it because I was surrounded by a big load of big, hefty blokes. I mean, I'm not small, but I was surrounded by blokes at the Etihad. And I remember when he came onto the pitch, my lad had just been born. Do you know what I mean? And it was the announcement that David Silva had, his child had survived the premature birth of his child. As Pep said, go away. When De Bruyne did that celebration to say 2-1, 21, David Silva's shirt number, not 2-1. Yeah, and I remember I was emotional, man, when he came onto the pitch with his son. That was big. That was big. And that cemented him in my memory forever as something that was relatable for me, that moment. But as a player, just absolutely sensational. Sensational. David Silva. So, yeah, that's my answer for that one. And that's my answer to all the questions, in fact. So thank you very much, everybody that's got in touch with me and asked those questions. And thank you very much for all your support as well, man. It's just so kind. It really is, really kind. So... I feel a bit rude to ask for a like, having, you know, you guys have put a lot of time into this channel, watching me, so I feel a bit rude to say like the video, and subscribe if you're new. Yeah, do that as well, please, because we can continue, we can go further. If you all stop doing that, then obviously this channel would die, so massively appreciate all the support, so yeah, please continue that. But right, Newcastle preview now. What a game this promises to be. First of all, yeah, and sad note, let's speak about that first. Darren Eales of Newcastle, CEO, has been diagnosed with chronic blood cancer, man. That's absolutely devastating. I wanted to wish him all the best. If there's any Newcastle fans watching, I'm sure that's been pretty heartbreaking news for any Newcastle fans, because that's devastating. You don't wish that on anyone, and I hope him a speedy recovery. Yeah, devastating news for that, and wish him all the best. But in terms of the game, this is the Oil Classico now, isn't it? The APT Classico, it could be known as, after the news yesterday from Mike Keegan and other sources, The Times, Martin Ziegler, Matt Lawton, multiple sources out there suggesting that Manchester City have won their case against the Premier League, which is absolutely fantastic news for Newcastle fans, probably more than City, to be honest, because this could pave the way for them to go and spend as much as not as much as you want, but as much as you can earn. Do you know what I mean? And it opens the doors for them to get in massive sponsorship deals, and they're going to go big for it now, going blow for blow with City now. Absolutely. But this is an opportunity for City to stretch out their lead at the top of the Premier League. That is so important that we do that. And it's going to be really, really difficult for Manchester City to do that, you know, because Newcastle away is... We've actually got a very good record against Manchester City. I've got the figures here in front of you, actually. Manchester City have won more, 31 games, and scored more, 101 goals, versus Newcastle than any other Premier League side. So we have a really good record against Newcastle. But as of late, we've only won 1 out of the 3 last visits to Newcastle, with last season the Carabao Cup. We wrote that off, didn't we? We wrote that off with the circumstances of the FIFA Club World Cup and what was going on with that. The fixture scheduling was just a complete state, so we wrote that game off. I wouldn't read too much into that loss. Then there was the 3-3 back in the treble winning season, early doors. Erling Haaland scored, I think. Did Rodri score? No, Rodri assisted Haaland, didn't he? I think Bernardo Silva may have scored. I can't remember who scored the third. Maybe Kevin De Bruyne, I can't remember, but I remember Kieran Trippier scoring a worldie, and I remember, yeah, just like Newcastle, the place bounces, man. I've been to St James's Park a few times. I went to St James's Park, in fact, for the game before the QPR game, the Aguero goal. The game before that was Newcastle away, and that was grim, with Demba Ba and Papa Cisse as their front two. And I remember it, and big up to the Newcastle fans that were outside, because when I was walking out the ground on that day, I remember all the Newcastle fans speaking to City fans, just saying, go and win the league. No one wants to see United win the league. No one wants to see that, so go and win the league. And even though they'd lost the game, they were so respectful of all the City fans, and it was just sort of like, yeah, there's a bit of an understanding with City, especially since the APT case. There's a bit of an understanding with Newcastle fans and City fans, and I think the only other club that's close to that is West Ham. I think West Ham and City have got that. That goes way back. That does. There's a story for another day there, but that's an unbelievable relationship that we've got with West Ham that goes way back, and Newcastle a little bit more recently because of the APT circumstances. But yeah, City currently unbeaten in 28 games. We've won our last 7 away games since the 1-1 draw at Anfield that stretches back to last season. But concerns for me is Kevin De Bruyne is out. Rodri, we all knew, is out. Will we go into the January transfer market for a replacement for Rodri remains to be seen. It's unlike City to do that, to go into the January transfer market at all. But is Kyogo is a possibility, not for Rodri replacement, just as a signing, because he was closely linked to City towards the end of the summer transfer. I still think we need a forward replacement because Haaland, we lose Haaland. We've lost so many goals. And with Kyogo Furuhashi at Celtic, not Chelsea, 2 seasons ago, getting 34 goals in a season. He didn't get that many last season, but he played in a deeper position. The season before that, he scored 30 plus goals. I know it's the Scottish Premier League, but still, 30 plus goals in any leagues deserves recognition. So he looks a special talent. I wouldn't mind City going for him, but who do we go for as a Rodri replacement? Get in the chat and let me know who you think should be a Rodri replacement, because, I mean, anyone that's of the level of Rodri, we're talking about hundreds of millions or close to, Adam Wharton. I've heard the name of who else have we gone for? I don't know really. Adam Wharton is the closest one for me that could be obtainable, but we'd have to break the bank. Zubamendi, yep, section 20, highlighting that. Yep, that's a possibility. That would be hilarious because of what went on with Liverpool, having rejected Liverpool in the summer. That would be funny. That would be just an extra little bit of razzle-dazzle comedy thrown in there just for that signing, so I'd go for that one. And Edison at Atalanta's a shout as well, hot hits. Yep, people are agreeing with you. That, Zubamendi from Douglas Wright and Zubamendi for Anthony as well. Yep, Adrian agrees. Yeah. Adam Wharton, though, is fresh. And, I mean, we've been linked with him. And he's going to be at a big club at some point, probably next season, though. I can't see Crystal Palace parting ways with Adam Wharton in the January transfer market. I just can't see it happening. But I'm going to get onto the tactics board in a minute, by the way. Don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't already, by the way. But I'm going to get onto the tactics board shortly. But yeah, life without Rodri is not going to be easy, and that's what I wanted to discuss. What City can do without Rodri. Pep has continuously said since the Rodri injury became apparent to everybody that we do it as a team. There's no one man, and I do think he's absolutely right. There will be it could be a change of system. For me, I think we revert back to the treble winning system a little bit, but without Rodri. It's Stones and Rodri, but I think we start looking at Stones and Kovacic for me, but without a back three that goes forward at all. I don't want to see Kyle Walker going forward at all, but life without Rodri, in terms of the stats are not good reading at all. So our games with Rodri, we've lost 11% of our games in Rodri's entire career at Manchester City. 11%. Without Rodri, we've lost 24% of our games without Rodri. So there is a debate there's an angle, a spin that I'm going to put on that, because when Rodri's not been there, it's been a surprise. It's been a one-off. And because it's been a one-off, it's been disruptive to the flow of Manchester City. Whereas now we know what we have to do. We've got a season without Rodri. Let's get on with it. Let's not sit around feeling sorry for ourselves. We need to crack on, make a plan. And if there's ever a man who I just watched his press conference. I didn't expect it to end so early. I was going to do this at 2, but I've gone for a little bit early because Pep finished early. But one thing that stood out to me in that press conference was his confidence again, and he never doesn't have confidence, but he just doesn't seem bothered by the fact that he seems upset by it. Like, yeah, it's not ideal. He said we are stronger with Rodri. Of course we are, but we've got the players. He didn't give me any doubts that he didn't believe that we're going to go and win Premier League football matches without Rodri. The likeliness is we'll probably drop more points than we would do if Rodri was there. I don't think there's any two ways about it, but we are getting the hardest possible test right now with Newcastle and the midfield in particular. I mean, the front three. Isak is out, by the way. I'll give you the full team news, in fact, first before I talk about Newcastle and the threats that they offer. So, Newcastle team news, injuries are in abundance. Callum Wilson, Lewis Miley, they're expected to return after the international break. You've got Sven Botman and Jamal Lascelles, they're long-term absentees. Matt Targett, everyone heard this? bit of an odd one. He's got eczema. Now, I know that eczema can be quite serious, but serious enough to miss a football match? I have never heard of that in my life. To have that, so I mean, I don't know what's going on there. I mean, listen, there's someone in the chat probably has got eczema and knows that it can be serious, and it, like, in terms of like affects you mentally and it makes you feel insecure. I don't know, man. I've just never heard of that. That is a random thing, and I'm surprised Eddie Howe said that Matt Targett. First of all, he's not that important to Newcastle, Matt Targett. And to go into quite a lot of detail about Matt Targett and the fact that he's got eczema, I would just say he's not feeling too clever. Do you know what I mean? To give everyone, all the football fans now are going to ridicule him. Like, does he need a physio or does he need Sudocrem? Do you know what I mean? Like, your over-the-counter medication should fix eczema. But it's a mad one, that. It's a complete mad one. The big one, though, moving on from the eczema victim, Alexander Isak, out. Or at least very, very likely out. He's got a broken toe, and apparently he broke it before the Fulham game. Which suggests to, and he played with an injection. When he played in the game, he played absolutely shocking, by the way. But in that game, he was running around with an injection in his toe, and apparently it stiffened up towards the end, and he hasn't trained all week. So that is huge news for Manchester City for me. Equally to Kevin De Bruyne, it's the same level. Obviously, Rodri as well, it means we are down 2 players bigger than Newcastle's players. I mean, Isak's a massive loss for them, but Rodri and De Bruyne is ridiculous for Manchester City. Not many teams could cope with the loss of those calibre of players, but Isak is huge because what that therefore means, I think Anthony Gordon's got a shift inside, but for me, what will happen, the battle will be won in midfield. And this is why I think John Stones will play, or should play, but he played a lot against Watford. So will he play? He's got minutes under his belt, but he played recently on a Tuesday night. He's got 3 days rest. Will Stones play and be the strong linchpin in that midfield for Manchester City? Because you're going up against Bruno Guimaraes, Joel Linton. I'm predicting Tonali to be in that midfield. It could be Sean Longstaff in that midfield for Newcastle. Either way, the size, the physicality, the technical ability of that midfield is one thing. Very able players. Let's get it straight. Joel Linton's got a goal in him. Bruno Guimaraes is, well, City fans know all too well that what we think of him. He's an unbelievable player that we targeted in the summer, and because of the transfer circumstances, wasn't to be. But obviously an unbelievable player. Sean Longstaff for me is a workhorse. I think he's a good player. I would be playing Tonali though, and I've been surprised that Tonali's not actually played that much for Newcastle this season since he's returned from his gambling suspension, if you can call it that. But yeah, and in terms of Manchester City, I've given you the most of the news. Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri is obviously out. Oscar Bob and Nathan Ake as well. So what do we do in the midfield to go up against the absolute size of that midfield from Newcastle? So let's have a look. I'm going to pick the Newcastle team first, so I'll put them on the screen for you. Nick Pope, Livramento is a very good player, Kieran Trippier played against Fulham, but for me Livramento is definitely ahead of Kieran Trippier at the minute. And he played brilliantly. I think it was one of his first games, actually, in his Newcastle career against City last season. And he did really well. So, yeah, Fabian Schär in the midfield, in the middle of defence for Newcastle with Dan Burn alongside him. If I can find him, there he is. Left back's become a little bit interesting as well because you've got Lloyd Kelly, who played recently. But Lewis Hall has been favoured for Newcastle most of the season so far. I'm going to guess for Lewis Hall, but Lloyd Kelly did play recently. But Lewis Hall still a little bit raw for me. A good talent. You can see the talent that is there. 100%. A quality player. I remember him coming on for Chelsea last season in the Carabao Cup, and he put in a good performance. I think he hit the post at the Etihad, if I remember rightly. A good player. So I've gone with him. And then it's the midfield that scares the shit out of me. I'm not going to lie. That midfield worries me. So my predicting, or what I would do if I was Newcastle, I would go for Tonali with Bruno Guimaraes in the middle. and then Joe Linton in midfield, and straight away, that's a beastly midfield, that is. You remove Rodri, and you have concerns in the midfield of Manchester City going up against that midfield. That's where I'm worried. Obviously, the front three would have been, let's do it now. It would have been Isak, Gordon, and Harvey Barnes, who's on fire at the minute, if I can find him as well. Where are you, mate? Number 11, Harvey Barnes, who is on fire for Newcastle at the minute with 3 goals and an assist in his last 4 games for Newcastle. So, yeah, that would be the front three for Newcastle. And if we were going up against that side, I'd be way more concerned. So I think the loss of Isak and the fact that Callum Wilson is also injured, they do not have a number 9. They don't have a centre-forward anymore. So I think they're going to have to play a sort of false 9 system, or someone who's just not that familiar with the position, which I think is going to be hard for Newcastle. So I think it would be more like this, with Anthony Gordon probably playing up front. So you've lost that speed on the sides of Newcastle's pitch, and therefore Jacob Murphy will probably, I'm going to guess, Jacob Murphy to come in on the right-hand side. I guess. Newcastle fans, if you're watching, let me know if who you think's what's going to happen up front for Newcastle's front three with the omission of Isak. It's a big blow for Newcastle, and that changes everything. You're now thinking, well, Jacob Murphy's not slow, but he's not Anthony Gordon level of speed. You know, Harvey Barnes again, speed. You know, they've got that three will be quick. Isak was quick, by the way. He carries the ball incredibly well. A fox in the box, dribbling ability is sensational. And it's just his finishing as well, you know, the goals. I mean, he's actually only scored 1 goal this season. I think Anthony Gordon's only scored 1 goal this season for Newcastle, but he's reportedly about to sign a new contract as well, so that could settle him down, get his mind in the frame of, you know, I am now officially a long-term Newcastle player, which could settle him down and give him a little boost for this game, you never know. But he's going to likely be up front. And Ruben Diaz dealing with Anthony Gordon is a mismatch for speed, but it's a mismatch for physicality. Ruben Diaz should bully him. Get tight. Don't let him spin you. Get hold of him. Be dirty. Get on him. You know what I mean? Get on Anthony Gordon and stifle him out of the game. You don't want to see Anthony Gordon going down that side of the pitch. And also what this does is it doesn't give City the necessity, because I don't think Gordon being in the middle is going to be bursting down the wings again. So therefore, do City need to play Kyle Walker? Again, Kyle Walker played midweek against Watford. Having played against Arsenal as well, surely Kyle Walker's now going to be rested, because as much as he's arguably one of our more expendable players, you know, you think of Akanji and Diaz and Gvardiol, that's my favourite back three. You put Walker in there, okay, I think most City fans are turned against him at the minute, which I disagree with the amount of hate for Kyle Walker, but he's certainly not got off to the greatest of starts. He played very well against Watford, but it's Watford. You know what I mean? So let's not get carried away. But yeah, what we do at the back now makes it a little bit easier for Pep to make up his mind, and doesn't need to think, wow, what about Kyle Walker? Do I need to play Kyle Walker to look after Anthony Gordon's pace on the wings, whether he's on the left? Most likely, and Harvey Barnes is still going to be a threat down that left-hand side, but I feel like Akanji could deal with it. But on the other side as well, it's Gvardiol versus Anthony Gordon, could have been a mismatch. But now that he's central, I think that's a little bit better. Right, City, my predicted starting 11 for City. Ederson in goal. Going to go with Manuel. Right centre-back. The back three that I just told you, basically. With Gvardiol at the left side of centre-back. In front of them, I think Kovacic needs to play. And I want to see, and it's risky, I feel like Pep might go with Rico Lewis, but I'm talking about the physicality of that midfield. Joel Linton, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali's a big guy. Even Longstaff, big. I've emphasised the physicality of that midfield, which is why I want to see. You put Kovacic and Rico Lewis, that you don't think, oh, they're going to bully the midfield. Technically incredible players, technically very capable players, but they're going to get bullied. You know, the size of Kovacic and Rico Lewis in particular is renowned for not being in the strong side of a player, you know, which is why, and it's risky because of the minutes that he's played lately. Well, he played against Watford, didn't he? So you're hoping John Stones is going to be okay to play, because I would rather see John Stones in there and without the ball, see us go back to that treble system. You know, obviously without Gvardiol there, it would have been Nathan Ake, wouldn't it? But without the ball, that's the back four. You know, with the ball, you see John Stones pushing into midfield, and Akanji can do the right back position. We've seen that numerous times. Not ideal without the ball, but ultimately, that back three for me is more suitable to what Newcastle are going to present as a threat and to prevent the counter-attacks, because we see so often the sides of our defence going forward too much and exposing big gaps behind Gvardiol and behind Manuel Akanji. So I would like to see those three stay as a completely flat back three without getting forward too much and making sure you're just conscious of that counter-attack. You know, I think it's so important. It's where the game will be won and lost. Nick's thinking he wants to see Walker, Stones, Diaz. Hots Hits wants to see Edison, Rico, Akanji, Stones and Gvardiol. Kovacic, Foden, Gundogan, Savio, Grealish and Haaland. Yeah, I agree. It's a bit hateful, isn't it? A bit hateful. But yeah, no, we're going to need him at some point in the season. And also agree with you there, Nick, as well. He has played a lot of football. So it could be Akanji dropped for Walker in this situation. You could see that in terms of... Well, no, because Walker played 2 games in a row. So I can't see Walker playing this game. Surely not. You know, a guy who's approaching... Is he 33 now? I think he's 33 now, isn't he, Kyle Walker? So for a player of that age to be playing 3 games in the space of... What is it, 5 days, 6 days? It's too much. It's too much. It's too risky. And I know people don't care about losing Kyle Walker, but we will when we come up against speed. And you know. Anyway, in front of them, with no Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden has been a concern for me. His form has been a bit underwhelming. I was really hoping we'd see a big explosion of quality from Phil Foden against Watford, and we just didn't see it. And again, it's against the level of opposition that you would expect to see Phil Foden play better. So call it a bit of rustiness. Let's move on from that performance. I don't think he was great against Watford, but I don't think he was bad. But, you know, I would have liked to have seen more. We've just not seen the Phil Foden that we saw the player of the season last season. We've just not seen it at all. So I want to see more, but I think he has to play. I'm going to go with Phil Foden. And then... alongside him, I'm going to go with Bernardo Silva. Up front, let's do the obvious one, shall we? Erling Haaland up front. And I'm going to go with Doku on the right and Savinho on the left for me. 2 wingers that are absolutely sensational. Both got a half each against Watford, which may be a clue that he wanted to get them minutes, get them... well, specifically Savinho, who's... still coming to terms with English football. But yeah, what do you think to that? What do you think about... Do you want Grealish? Shaquille wants to see Grealish. I wouldn't have an objections to Grealish because he came on against Arsenal and he dictated that second goal, didn't he? That equaliser that came from John Stones was all through Grealish's making. His awareness to get over to the touchline and take that corner quickly was Jack Grealish. You know, that was brilliant awareness. The little 1-2, I think it was with Gundogan, wasn't it? And then he just like ghosted into the penalty area really nicely, laid it on for Kovacic, whose shot was blocked, and then John Stones on the rebound. And it was all Jack Grealish. So yeah, Section wants to see Grealish swap for Silva. What, in the middle? In the middle. Nick wants to see Gundogan start. Pep's indicating Gundogan as well. I think Gundogan could play. You could see something completely different to what I've done. I love the wing combination. I'm a big fan of those 2 wingers, and playing together is something we've just not seen enough this season. Just think about Erling Haaland. How does he get his chances? The best chances for Erling Haaland are from the byline, you know? So you think about taking them 2 off. You put Bernardo Silva on that side, and you put Gundogan in the middle there, and you put Jackie Boy... Where is he? On the left. Immediately, they're controlling wingers, and we get that ball over to the sides. Yeah, we're probably not going to lose it. There's not going to be much risks taken, though, either. They're going to cut it back, and they're going to be easier to defend against. The explosiveness of Savinho and Doku is perfect for Erling Haaland. So that, for me, is... Yeah, I think against certain teams this can work. Absolutely. It has worked on many occasions. This was almost, the treble winning side is pretty much there now, isn't it? Almost, more or less. You know, you put Foden maybe on the wing. And obviously Rodri would have been in there as well, but we're getting closer to the treble winning side there. But I just feel that sides have figured out what City want to do with Bernardo Silva and Jack Grealish. The idea is to get the ball on the sides of the pitch and cut it inside, not just backwards, but or cut it inside and draw players out to them. But the fullbacks aren't biting anymore. You look at the difference of when Jack Grealish gets the ball, they send out a fullback. When Bernardo Silva on the right wing gets the ball, just who was it against? He offered nothing against Arsenal. It was send one fullback over there to go one-on-one. I mean, at times it was Gabriel Jesus getting back, wasn't it? And dealing with Bernardo Silva in that last 10 minutes of the game against Arsenal. I just feel like Doku and Savinho, they draw out two. We've got to send two over because one-on-one, they lose every time. Well, not every time, more often than not, though. Doku's dribbling one-on-one ability, and Savinho, we saw that against Watford, just rinsing them from it was about a 70-yard run, and went in and smashed the post. You know, I doubt we're going to get that sort of space against Newcastle. Maybe if we're 2 goals up, maybe, and later into the game, I just can't see it. So for me, I don't have a massive problem with those three playing, but I'm going to stick with my original 11. So I am going to go with that is my official starting 11. But yeah, let me know if you disagree. If you're watching after the fact, let me know. But yeah, Phil agrees with me on Foden's form, but thinks he has to play. Yeah, he needs to get minutes. If Foden gets a nice goal, I think we can call it like this is the season starting for Phil Foden going forward now. But yeah, it's no Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, would Kevin De Bruyne... Yeah, I think Kevin De Bruyne would have played in this game if he was 100% fit. I think he would have done. But who wouldn't have played then if Kevin De Bruyne was 100% fit? Would it have been Foden? Would it have been Bernardo Silva? Because Bernardo Silva plays pretty much every game at the minute, doesn't he? Pep finds a place for him, you know, because of his versatility. Pep loves Bernardo Silva, and I still don't think City fans have recognised, because whenever there's an expendable player, it always seems to be Bernardo Silva who seems to cop for it from City fans, who just go, yeah, Bernardo Silva, he can go. You know, he can sit on the bench. I don't think Pep thinks like that at all. I think Pep's like, play him, mate. I mean, he might be not playing because he has played so many minutes this season, Bernardo Silva. But every big game, Bernardo Silva plays, you know. So it would be possibly Phil Foden dropped, or Phil Foden playing out wide and De Bruyne in the middle, if De Bruyne was fit. Obviously he's not, so we don't have that problem yet. But that problem is a good problem to have, because we're talking about unbelievable players to choose from here. So it's a nice headache to have. But yeah, Silva ain't good as a winger, says true City fan. I agree with you a little bit. He can do it. I just certainly wouldn't consider him. He's more of an outside midfielder. Do you know what I mean? I would consider him more of a very right-sided midfielder. I wouldn't call him a winger. He gets into that position that's technically the wing position, but he doesn't play like a winger at all. You know. But yeah, thank you very much for the super chat, by the way, true City fan. Really appreciate that. So yeah. I'm pleased with my selections, to be honest. Some of you may not be. But I'm not looking forward to the game as much without Kevin De Bruyne being confirmed out. I think he can be a difference maker in these games. He was last season. Who can forget the substitute appearance that he made in the second half? Obviously, the two players that were impactful are both injured for this game. Oscar Bob getting that last-minute winner, and the assist from Kevin De Bruyne, which was after he scored the equaliser. You know, so we're missing both of those players now. But yeah, obviously football doesn't work like that. But it's going to be an incredibly difficult game. I've got 2 scoreline predictions to give you. One from the heart and one from the head. Do you want the good news or the bad news first? I'll give you the bad news first. The one from the head says 2-2 in this game. But the one from the heart says 2-1. The emotional part of me thinks City can do this 2-1, but it's going to be a difficult game. But the logical part of me thinks this is going to be a really difficult game for Manchester City, who could still be... I wouldn't say we're wounded after Arsenal, but I would say that we're feeling it a little bit. The emotions from that game are something that need to be factored in, and it's just going first. If we win this game, going first, I can't remember who are Arsenal playing. They're pretty much guaranteed win if I remember who Arsenal are playing. I checked it, but I've forgotten. But I'm almost certain they're playing at 3 o'clock. Yeah, at home to Leicester. Leicester have been pants, mate. Absolutely pants this season. So they're guaranteed 3 points, you know. So if we fail to win this game, we could be losing our top spot. I mean, Liverpool are likely to win as well. I mean, who are they playing? I should have just checked that while I had the fixtures, shouldn't I? But Liverpool have got away to Wolves at 5:30. That's not easy, but they've been pretty crap as well, Wolves. So you're thinking our two closest rivals are dead certs for 3 points this Premier League weekend. And before you know it, City fans, I want to brace you for the media outpour that will be if City fail to win. City can't win without Rodri. No De Bruyne. Oh, doom and gloom. City have dropped points against Newcastle. Arsenal and Liverpool have overtaken Manchester City. You know, it could be like that. It could be that sort of weekend. But we've been here before, Blues. We've done this before, and we did this last season. We got off to an even better start last season. This myth that Manchester City get off to bad starts, I don't know where that's come from. You know, it's bollocks. Look at the fixtures of last season. We won our first 6 games last season. This is game 6 right now. We're about to play it now. You know, we're doing the same as what we did last season. And it was about this stage of the season where a Rodri suspension cropped up. Morgan Gibbs-White headbutt. And then we lost Rodri for a bit. You know, and then we dropped points. We went away to Wolves. We lost. And then we went away to Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. We lost. And I can't remember. Villa away. And we lost. You know, so we went on a terrible run at this stage last season, and we still won the league, Blues. So while there is going to be a downside to this season, you need to brace yourself for it, mentally prepare for the fact that there is going to be a decline in our season. You don't win every game. That has to be understood. I'm sure it is. I hope it is. But the expectancy levels of Manchester City have gone so high now, so unrealistically so. To win every game, it's just not doable. And this is one of the grounds that every Premier League club dreads going to. St James's Park away. There aren't too many teams that come away with 3 points from St James's Park. Not many at all. You know, even if it's a draw, some go away thinking, yes, a point was a good result at St James's Park. We shouldn't be doing that. Our standards are higher than that. We should absolutely be going there to win. And of course, we're going to do that. We don't do anything else. But it's just a grim place to go, man. You don't go there and win comfortably. But if we do, just think about the fixtures we've chalked off, you know. Chelsea away, and they're getting started, by the way. Just think about Arsenal and Liverpool. They've got to go away to Chelsea. Obviously, we've got to play Chelsea again at our place, though. So I'm confident that we can do it because we're at the Etihad. Just think the fact that Chelsea are turning the screw a little bit. And Enzo Maresca has got Chelsea playing some really good football, and they're starting to look like... Oh, people are already saying they could challenge for the title. I don't think that. They're not there yet. I just think they could be a top 4 side this season. They're looking that way, and they're certainly going to grow and go strength to strength. And the fact that we've already played them and beaten them and got 3 points off them away is huge for City, you know? And a clean sheet, by the way, the only one of the season that we've got so far, and that's annoying me. I would like City to start keeping clean sheets. But it's the give and take for City now. Without Rodri, I think we need to accept that counter-attack prevention needs to become a much bigger priority. Because we're going to lose points this season if we continue with we go for it. We send so many players forward like we did last season. But Rodri was he is such a vital player to preventing counter-attacks. I think we need to accept that there may be a bigger divide between attack and defence this season where we might have to just suffer, as Pep likes to say. We might have to suffer in games and absorb a bit of pressure. And and we've got the players that can counter-attack ourselves. We never get the opportunity to counter-attack. So maybe we have to revert to a system that's a little bit more passive, accepting of the fact that Rodri's not in that midfield, and just don't send Kovacic and John Stones flying forward and have John Stones just sitting, protecting, being a physical presence. He can cover ground. He's not slow, John Stones. Kovacic does not cover the ground that well. Rico's not that quick. either. You play those two in a midfield that's going to have counter-attacking availability for the opposition. We're going to concede goals, especially if you're playing Walker and sending him forward, and Gvardiol, who loves to go forward, and he's very, very good at it. But so many goals are going to be conceded if we play like that this season. Without Rodri, who's brilliant at, like, you know, counter-attacking prevention, positionally. Rodri's not quick either, mind you. He's just up here. He's already in a position to prevent the counter-attack. He doesn't need speed because he reads the game better than any other midfielder in the world. He's one of the best in the world at positional awareness, you know, which makes the game look easy, but it is not. What he does is all up here. It's an intelligent football IQ that he's got. So, yeah, I mean, City might have to accept that we and just trust Doku and Savinho and Haaland. Just trust those three. You know, and obviously De Bruyne and Foden, or Gundogan and Foden, or Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne, whoever it may be, just trust those guys to get the job done and create a little bit bigger divide. And we don't have to send the whole fucking cavalry forward. And just the second we lose the ball, goal for the opposition. How many times have we seen that this season? And over the multiple seasons that have gone by, apart from the treble winning season, which is why my mind's reverting back to that. Because I feel like the safety net that we had, yes, we had Rodri fit for the whole season, but John Stones for the final third of that season was integral. And he's gotten better at that job. He should have done, at least. He's obviously aged since then. Maybe picks up an injury or two, which God forbid that happens, because we are in big fucking trouble. Akanji can do the role, of course, but that's going to be key for City this season, that midfield. Without Rodri, and John Stones has to play a big role in that for me. So yeah, that's my predictions, Blues. I've gone for 2-2. Douglas is agreeing with me as well. Just a little one last comment before I shoot off there, but yeah. Oh, it's a nerve-wracking game, Blues. It really is. Don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't already, and get your predictions in the comments if you're watching after the fact. And again, thank you to everyone that's subscribed to Typical City, and let me know, would you rather me go live a little bit more often? I'm quite happy to do it, to go live a little bit more frequently, other than just watch-alongs and match reactions. I could just do the previews live like this and get a bit more insight from you guys in the chat about what your predictions are and what you'd like to see on the in the starting 11 for Manchester City going forward. But yeah, let me know if you'd rather go live more or stick to original videos, or I'll try and do a blend of the two, to be honest. I like to do a blend of the two because there's things I can't do live, you know, editing like in detail and giving you specific points, and I can cut out the waffling as well. All of the bollocks that comes out, you know, in most live streams. For any streamer, they talk shit, most people do, for quite some time, but you can edit that out. So that's one of the perks of not going live. But Blues, what are your predictions? Get in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Typical City. And thanks very much, everybody, for the 20,000 subscribers. Absolutely over the moon. Take care. And come and join me for the watch-along tomorrow. It's a lunchtime kickoff, don't forget. 12:30 in the UK. So it's going to be crack of dawn for the US people. But come and join me. It's going to be a big game. Massive game. And yeah, I'll see you there. Take care, Blues.